In talking about domestic violence cases, we hear the term intimate relationship used quite a bit. And the reason for that is because in order for there to be a sentence enhancement of domestic violence applied to a charge, there has to be, number one, a finding of the underlying charge, probable cause to support that. And two, there has to be a finding that an intimate relationship existed before the person can be charged with domestic violence. Now, intimate relationship is a very broad definition, so I wanted to break it down here for you. We may get a little detailed, and I don't mean to be offensive, but it's important to go through all these different subtleties in intimate relationship to make sure that you fully understand what this entails for domestic violence charges. Intimate relationship at the very broadest means an intimate relationship between either spouses or former spouses or partners or past or present boyfriends or girlfriends, literally any kind of romantic involvement. Now, intimate relationship does not require that there be a sexual relationship. So this is incredibly important to know because unfortunately we've seen cases where very young children in high school or middle school are charged with acts of domestic violence because there is a proven case of an intimate relationship even without a sexual relationship. You can also have an intimate relationship if you're casually dating someone but you're not engaging in any sexual acts, but there's still that intimacy there. So an easy way to think about it is any kind of romantic entanglement could be an intimate relationship. And when I say romantic entanglement, I mean even a one-night stand can be domestic violence because in that case there is a sexual component, which is a very easy way for the law enforcement officer to jump right to intimate relationship. Another thing to be aware of is it doesn't matter how long or how far apart the dating was for the intimate relationship to be applied. There should be, and they need to take that into consideration and weigh that. But a lot of the times what we'll see spouses in the middle of a divorce or people breaking up, and during that time, they're not actually getting along. They're not being intimate with each other, either emotionally or physically, but it is still an intimate relationship because there is that history of intimacy. So a general rule of thumb is if there are any questions whatsoever about whether you and another person are involved in an intimate relationship, most likely you are. One thing that I think is important though to know is domestic violence here in Colorado is phrased a little bit differently than in other states. So I've had a lot of people say, well, I was charged with a domestic in another state. Here in Colorado, domestic violence means it's a charge where you are being alleged to have committed a crime against someone with whom you are in an intimate relationship, and that is all they need. It does not mean that it's a domestic situation where if you're, let's say, if you're hurting your child or a cousin or a grandmother, that is domestic because it's part of the family unit, but it's not domestic violence. So in Colorado, domestic violence only refers to people who are in an intimate relationship, not the unit of a family. So you're never going to see a domestic violence charge where someone is hurting their mother and they're charged with domestic violence, unless there's a really messed up dynamic going on in that family. But generally speaking, intimate relationship means some kind of romantic entanglement between two people, not a domestic situation where you are just dealing with the whole of a family. And it can be a bit confusing because in Colorado, we also use the term domestic relations. Domestic relations is generally kind of a catch-all phrase to talk about family law court. So if you hear a domestic relations case, you may think, oh, that means domestic violence. It's not the same thing. Domestic relations is dealing with the family, dealing with custody, marriage, all kinds of things that happen within a family. Domestic violence is related to two people or three people, you do you, but people who are involved in an intimate relationship of a romantic nature of some kind. So hopefully this helps sort things out a little bit for you. I know it can be a little bit complicated, but if you have any questions about whether you're in an intimate relationship or kind of what that entails for your case, feel free to reach out to us at any point in time so that we can help clear this up for you.